Are you in the process of transitioning from your old home to your new home, and you're in a position where you need to store your items for some period of time while in that transition? In this video, we're going to talk about whether you should consider storing your items in a pod versus a storage unit and what that looks like. The first item to consider is how many times do you want to move your stuff? So when you think about it, with a pod, they are going to deliver the pod right to your front door. So you can load that pod as you're starting to pack your items and you can start putting them into the pod. You will only need to move your furniture and other items into the pod once. And then once it gets delivered to your new location, you take them out once. If you're looking at putting your items in a storage unit, it may take multiple trips to go to the storage unit. So you may be touching your items multiple times. Plus, you're going to end up having to move your items twice. Once into the truck, into the storage unit, out of the storage unit, into the truck, and back to your house. But remember, the good thing about a pod is they deliver your items right to your front door. Loading a pod versus a storage unit can be a bit more tricky, however. In loading a pod, you're going to want to make sure that you load it ceiling to floor and wall to wall, because when they move the pod, there is going to be some shifting and you don't want any of your items to fall out or get broken in the moving process. In a storage unit, you might have a little bit more room to place your items, so you don't have to pack them quite as tightly. If you are going to need access to your items while in transition, a storage unit might be a little bit better option, as you will likely have more room to walk around and put your items and be able to get in and out. In a pod, remember, you're going to have your items packed ceiling to floor and wall to wall. So if you need to get in, might be a little tricky. The fourth thing to consider is, what is it going to cost? The average price of a 10-foot by 25-foot storage unit in the Boise, Idaho area is going to range from $180 to $230 a month on average. With a pod, you have the monthly fee, and depending on the size of the pod, it can cost anywhere from $149 a month to $190 a month just to rent the pod, but you are going to have some additional expenses. The pod company is going to charge you a fee to deliver the pod. Then you have the monthly fee, the fee to pick up the pod and move it to your new location. And then once you unload the pod, they're going to have another fee that they're going to charge you to pick up that pod. And finally, where is that pod going to be stored? Now, if you have room on your current property or someone else's property to store the pod, and there's plenty of room for them to get the pod into that location, that is great. However, if you don't have a place to store the pod, you will have to go to the pod company's storage site, and that is going to require an additional expense for storage. For more information about utilizing a pod company, please refer to our blog at www.idahoets.com.